and you know Mrs. Livingston and that she's kind of a fat kid and loves to do nothing but eat. So this was a great country to eat in. There were a lot of different flavors and spices, and things were mixed in a way that you wouldn't think about, because to the Danish people, it's all the world at large, and so they were very comfortable mixing things together. Um, and they were able to learn about a lot of other cultures because of the Viking heritage. And now the food slideshow. It was so delicious. Mm. Oh no, where are my pictures? They're coming. So I just compiled a lot of the foods that I ate over the course of the days that I was on my trip. Except my show's not showing. Ah, tragedy. Now I'm angry. I'll make sure you guys get some pictures in a second. Denmark is also the home of Hans Christian Andersen, and he's responsible for a lot of the Disney movies, because he's the one who writes a lot, or who wrote a lot of the fairy tales that we're familiar with, and the one that you'll be reading is The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid is a huge part of like Danish symbols of pride. This is a statue of the Little Mermaid, and at one point in time they took the statue to China for a trade, like to show what Danish culture was about, and all the people in Denmark freaked out. So they did another casting, and now they take the fake Little Mermaid with them on their trips, and the real Little Mermaid gets to live here. All Danish fairy tales are meant to teach a moral and to acculturate and socialize children, which is a big deal, and you're also going to need to watch when you read the story to see what things they're trying to teach about their culture with the story. Often the stories are allegorical, so they're meant to tell very complex things in a much simpler and kind of, I don't want to say dumbed down, but it's a very simplified way of telling a story. And they are also obviously meant to convey beliefs and the major philosophies just in general of the culture. So that's the end. That's me with the Little Mermaid. In the back you can see some of the buildings, some of the smokestacks. I don't think you can quite make out any of the wind turbines, but in the distance there are many, many, many wind turbines. And now, if you can wait a few seconds, I will pull up the food show. It's delicious. Of course, it's going to take a minute. Doo-doo-doo. Nom, 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 nom. Some of the interesting things about Danish food included their ability to integrate like nuts into all of the foods. So everything was very high protein. So you didn't really need to eat as much, and you could then eat better quality, which I thought was really, really cool. Pulling up the eating in Denmark one. So this was the food we ate on the first day. And like I said, it was delicious. One thing that they did that was just beyond ingenious is they took their vegetables, and to make sure that they didn't start to get kind of soggy, they put them in ice water when you got there, and it was delicious. We had yogurt, which was maybe the best yogurt I've ever eaten, with homemade granola. There was zucchini bread, like 8 different kinds of jams, 4 kinds of honey. Not kidding. 4 kinds of honey. Delicious. This stuff was really, really good. It was like a potato, like hot potatoes, but they had capers and some fish in it. And charcuterie, which is cold cuts and cheese. That was what I ate, and I loved every bite of it. It was so good. This was my first dinner, and it was a really interesting salad of shrimp and crab and green apples mixed with cucumbers, and then they put it on this really dense bread, and it had tons of different kinds of nuts, and it was just a really, really good hearty bread, and it could stand up next to all of this craziness. And then there was also some avocado with it, and a little pickle. Ah, where'd you go? I don't know what's going on. This was the best meal I've ever eaten in my life. It's lamb that was cooked just perfectly, and then it had some cabbage that had been braised for a really long time with scallions and honey. I think there was some white wine in there, and then a lot of lemon zest, and it was so incredibly good. Breakfast, general breakfast, a lot of granola, really thick breads. Everything as far as the drinks went came in much smaller cups, which was very annoying because I had that much coffee and it was awful. This is some more bread, just very dense, thick bread. Had a lot of nuts in it. It was really good. This was a gazpacho that was so incredible. There are no words for how good it was. It was really good. And gazpacho is just a cold soup. And this one was a tomato broth with parsley oil and creme fraiche, ricotta, cucumbers, and cantaloupes. That was my dinner that night. It was veal with like white sauce of asparagus, carrots, peas, beans. It was really, really good. Not as good as the lamb. I don't like veal, it turns out, which really stunk. Some raspberry sorbet. Ooh, Mufasa's so good. I took like 8 pictures of it. Some of my pictures decided not to come up on the screen, which is sad. This is a creme brulee, and I love creme brulee. If it's ever on the menu anywhere, I get it. This creme brulee was amazing. And I think that puts us back at the beginning of the slideshow. So that was the food I ate. That was just a quick overview of my 7 days in Denmark and what I learned. And I hope you can take this and use it when you read The Little Mermaid.